I get up slower than I should. My back stiff from sleeping half-curled behind the generator casing, and my right knee clicks when I stand, like it's reminding me I'm not 30 anymore. It's cold, but not enough to see my breath. I check the tarp first. The wind didn't bring much rain last night. A little dew pooled near the barrel rim. I pull the tarp taut, flick off a few dead leaves, and funnel whatever I can into the blue drum. Not even half a liter. I swish it once in a mug and sip slow. Can't afford to waste a drop. Next, I unwrap the binoculars. They're junk now, but better than nothing. Left lens still fogs if I breathe too close. I crouch near the low wall at the east end and sweep the street grid. Wabash is quiet. One sedan flipped near the corner last spring. Still there. Nothing fresh. I count 4, no, 5, infected moving slow between the bank lobby and the corner pharmacy. One's dragging a piece of shelving stuck to his leg. I mark them in my notebook. Nothing fast, no noise. Everything smells like old soot and burned plastic. You stop noticing after a year or so, but when the wind shifts, it still hits weird. I check the corner where I keep the rat traps. Nothing. Probably froze last night. I eat the last of the oats with a spoon I found in a bike courier's bag. He had a granola bar and a cracked phone in his pack. I buried the rest of him near the stairwell when I first claimed this roof. Didn't know his name. The badge was too faded. I do the rounds. Rope anchors still tight. I run my fingers along the knots I double-checked 3 days ago. Everything feels dry. No signs of rot. The makeshift bridge to the next building holds. Still, I move slow over it, crouching low, keeping my center close to the plank. Once I cross to the east building, I descend one floor using a broken stairwell and loop through a gutted teacher's lounge. It's been picked clean already, but I check the vending machine anyway. Still locked, still intact, just like last time. Some joker put a sticky note on it early in the outbreak that says, "Don't be a hero, I never touched it." There's a microwave here, busted, the kind with a cracked glass door and bits of ramen packets stuck inside. There's a glass pitcher too, but the bottom's blown out. I mark the room again in my notebook. No food, no salvage, no threats. Still empty. I get back up top before the afternoon glare starts. Rooftops warm in patches. A few of the black panels I left out are holding heat. Might use them to warm canned beans later. Then I see it. Not huge, just a column of smoke. Thin, rising straight, maybe 12 blocks northeast. Rooftop level, not a car, not a trash fire. Way too deliberate. I drop down, elbows on concrete, and scan with the binocs. It's real. Someone lit a controlled burn on one of the buildings past the loop. Not drifting, not heavy, looked like dry wood or treated paper. Clean flame. I check my map. That rooftop had been dead for months. A solar station caved in on the south side. I marked it black after that last storm. There's no good reason anyone should be lighting anything up there. Could be a signal, could be bait, could be someone lost. I log it, mark it, but I don't move. Not yet. I eat early that night. Crackers and some green beans from a can that's starting to rust at the seam. I filter another cup from the barrel, taste a little rubber in it, probably from the old tubing. I'll swap that out tomorrow if I can find a replacement on the lab roof. Right after sunset, I recheck the skyline. The smoke's gone, but the after image of it stays in my head like a nail sticking out of the map. Something's off. I don't start a fire. Haven't lit one since last fall, when the old man in the river tower answered me with a mirror signal, then vanished the next day. I drag the desk back in front of the generator box and wedge myself inside. I don't sleep yet. I hold the radio for an hour. Nothing but static and faint bleeds from old emergency bands. Same as usual. I keep the radio in my hands until my wrist starts to ache from holding the same position. The volume knob is turned down low, but the static still fills the little space behind the generator box. Every few minutes there's a faint bleed of something that used to be a station, the kind of clean studio sound that makes no sense now. Then it slides back into noise. I don't chase it anymore. I mark the time in my notebook, shut the radio off, and wrap it in a towel so dust doesn't grind into the buttons. I slide the notebook under my sleeping pad, and keep the pencil inside my pocket. If someone comes up here and I have to move fast, I don't want to be hunting for small things. My pack stays half-zipped, straps laid out flat, shoes angled toward the opening so I can step into them without making a racket. I don't like sleeping in shoes, but I don't like waking up late more. There's a scrape somewhere out in the open, metal on metal, soft at first, and then a second scrape that sounds heavier. It comes from the direction of the roof next door, but the wind bounces sound around the gaps between buildings, so I don't take it as a fact. I don't move the desk away. I don't stand up to peek. I sit there in the dark with my hands on my knees, listening for a pattern that means something. I hear nothing after that. No voices, no footsteps, no coughing, no glass. If it was a person, he moved off. If it was wind, it's done. I wait longer than I want to. When I finally lay back, I keep my head turned toward the opening, and I don't let my hands drift far from my pack. Morning comes with a dull light, grey and flat. I push the desk panel aside enough to slide out, and I pause with my eyes on the roof surface. That's habit now. I look for new scuffs, dragged grit, prints in dust, anything that wasn't there when I went in. Nothing jumps out. That doesn't make me relax. It means either nothing happened, or whoever moved out there knew how to move clean. Both fit the city now. I straighten up, roll my shoulders once, and go right to the water barrel. The level is lower than it should be, not by a lot, but enough to bother me. I check the valve. I check the cap. The tubing that runs from the top into the drum is seated, but the strap holding it has slipped a little. A gust could have shaken it loose, and a few hours of slow drip would add up. That's on me. I tighten it and write it down. Small mistakes stack. I pour a cup through my filter bottle and stop before drinking. The water has a faint smell that wasn't there 2 days ago. Rubber and something sour. I dump the cup onto the roof and keep the bottle open, sniffing it again to be sure. If I drink bad water, the consequences aren't immediate, and that makes it worse. I don't get the option to recover in a clean bed with a light on. I take the bottle apart and look at the filter element. The housing is stained. The element is older than it should be, and I can't pretend it isn't. I've been stretching it because replacement means going into the wrong buildings, and I've been choosing fear over maintenance. I hate admitting that, but it's what it is. I eat a dry handful of oats and a mouthful of peanut butter from the last packet. I chew slow and keep my eyes moving while I eat. The roof is quiet. The street below is quiet. Quiet is never a promise. I unwrap the binoculars and go straight to the northeast corner. That smoke from yesterday is what's pulling me there. My body is doing it before my mind finishes arguing. I settle in behind the low wall, elbows planted, binoculars braced against the concrete. There's no smoke now. I sweep the skyline anyway, slow and deliberate. Rooftop after rooftop, I check the places where someone could stand without being seen from the street. The places where a fire could be hidden behind equipment. I look for movement. I look for anything that catches light in the wrong way. Near the same spot as yesterday, I see a dark patch on the roof that wasn't there before. Not smoke, not flame, a mark. The roof surface looks damp in a shape that doesn't match the weather. Someone poured something. Water maybe to wash away ash, or to leave a mark that only shows for an hour. I set the binoculars down and pull my notebook out. I turn to the map pages and trace the distance with my pencil. 12 blocks northeast if I count straight lines. More if I have to rote around dead gaps and broken bridges. The route between me and that roof crosses 3 buildings I don't trust and one that I marked as unstable back in late fall. I stare at my own handwriting, and I don't like how calm the pencil line looks compared to what it means in real life. I don't decide to go. Not yet. First, I check my own perimeter. I walk the roof with my eyes on everything that can be touched. My rope anchor looks the same. My plank bridge looks the same. The tarp is where I left it. Then I see it on the far side near the vent housing. A streak in the dust that runs in a straight line, too straight for wind. Something dragged. I crouch and run my fingers over the streak. It's fresh. Not wet, not greasy, but fresh. The dust is disturbed down to the tar. I follow it to the edge, where I keep a loose sheet of metal as a wind block. The sheet is shifted a few inches. It's not much, but I know where I set it. I don't say anything out loud. I don't give the roof the satisfaction of hearing me panic. I slide the sheet back into place and check under it. No stash, no trap, no note. I check the edge itself, peering down, looking for a rope that shouldn't be there. A line hanging from a window. Anything that suggests someone came up and went down. I see nothing. That doesn't clear it. It narrows the list. It means someone either came from above, which makes no sense, or moved across from another roof and back again, and did it when I was behind the generator box with the radio off. I pack up without making a big show of it. Food, water, notebook, pencil, pry bar, my short length of extra cord, the small first aid pouch that isn't much anymore, and my old pistol. I don't like carrying it. It adds weight and it adds decisions I don't want. I carry it anyway because the city taught me what happens when you pretend people are always reasonable. I check the magazine and put it away. No dramatic gesture. No fantasy of hero work. It's a tool that makes noise and brings trouble if I use it. Before I step onto the plank bridge, I take my knife and mark a shallow line across the rope sheath near the knot. It's a scratch only I will notice. If the rope gets untied and retied, if someone swaps it, if the knot is worked, I'll see it later. It's not perfect. It's something. I cross to the next roof with my knees bent and my weight low. The wind is light, but it tugs at the plank in small pulses. I don't look down. Looking down doesn't change the reality, and it wastes focus. Once I'm across, I roll the plank a quarter turn and set it back down in the same notches so it doesn't squeak. I move across 2 more roofs, staying high, staying quiet, stopping at every corner to scan the streets below. The infected are scattered. Most drift without direction until something pulls them. Sound pulls them fastest. Light pulls them at night. Smoke pulls them in slow waves because it carries. I learned that early, back when I still thought I could keep a fire small and hidden. The first building I drop into is a research lab I've used before. The stairwell door is chained from the inside. I unlock my side of the chain, slip through, and relock it behind me. The chain isn't security against someone determined, but it stops a door from swinging, and it keeps the wind from slamming it. Wind noise has gotten people injured in this city. I've seen it. Inside the lab, the air is stale and dry. Dust on benches, empty cabinets, overturned stools. Someone came through here months ago and took everything easy. What's left is the stuff that takes time, and time is expensive. I head for the supply closet near the back, careful over broken glass. I don't rush in buildings. Rushing is how you catch yourself on something sharp. Cuts in this world are not a small problem. The closet has what I hoped for and what I feared. A box of old filtration cartridges, most of them compromised from water damage. Cardboard soft, labels smeared. I test 2 by pressing the plastic. 1 cracks at the seam. I toss it back. The second feels sealed. I put it in my pack and I don't celebrate. 1 filter buys time. It doesn't fix the fact that I'm living on borrowed parts. On my way out, I stop at a window facing northeast. I use the binoculars again, but from here the angle is better. I can see deeper into the grid, and I can see the rooftops that were partially blocked from my home roof. I scan the area where the fire was. There it is again. Smoke. Thin, controlled, rising from the same rooftop, but weaker than yesterday. Whoever is doing it wants it seen, but not from the street. That tells me something. It tells me the signal is aimed at someone at height, not at anyone down below. I back away from the window and crouch behind the wall. If someone is looking for viewers, the next step is looking back. I don't know if the person can see me at this distance, but I know how binoculars work. I know what a person can do with patience. I stay down for a full minute, then peek again from a different spot. The smoke is steady. No movement on the roof. No visible figure. The fire itself is screened behind something tall, maybe a vent stack, maybe a roof access hut. That's deliberate. This is not someone trapped who set a desperate blaze and ran. This is someone who knows smoke can be a spotlight. I leave the lab and climb back to the roof, relocking the stairwell chain behind me. When I cross back toward my home area, I take a longer route. I don't want to walk the same pattern if someone is watching patterns. I don't know if that thought is smart or if it's the kind of thought that makes a person start seeing shapes in clouds. Either way, the cost of a longer route is time and calories, not blood, so I spend it. Midway across a mid-rise rooftop with a collapsed section, I stop cold. There's a length of rope hanging over the far edge, tied off to a pipe. It's old rope, not mine. A thick knot I wouldn't choose. A knot meant to hold a person's weight in a hurry. The rope leads down into an alley gap between buildings. I stare at it without moving closer. I scan around. No one visible. No movement in windows. No fresh noise. I keep my distance and study the knot from where I am. The pipe it's tied to has scrape marks on the paint. The rope has been used more than once. This is not a random leftover from construction. Construction rope doesn't hang in perfect working condition after 2 years unless someone maintained it. I write it down. Roof location, rope type, anchor point. Then I back away and take the longer way around the collapsed section, even though it adds another crossing I don't like. I keep my eyes on the rope as long as I can without exposing myself. I don't touch it. Touching it would tell someone I was here. When I reach my home roof again, I don't go straight into my hiding spot. I do another perimeter sweep. I check the scratch mark on my rope sheath at the knot. The scratch is still where I left it. That is a relief I don't let myself sink into. It means something. It doesn't mean everything. I spend the afternoon moving supplies into 2 caches. One under the vent housing, one inside a rooftop access shack that I can reach by crossing one building west. If I get forced off this roof, I don't want all my gear in one place. I also move my bedding. I don't sleep in the same spot 2 nights in a row anymore. Not since last winter, when I found a set of footprints on a roof I thought nobody knew existed. At dusk, I watch the northeast roof again. The smoke stops. Then, after dark, a small light appears for a short time and goes out. It's not a floodlight. It's not a flare. It's controlled, aimed low, and it's covered quickly. The light shows once, then again, with gaps between. 3 pulses. I don't answer. My hands stay occupied with real tasks so I don't slip into staring. I repair a strap on my water tarp. I wipe down the filter bottle threads. I sharpen my knife carefully and clean the filings into a rag so they don't glitter on the roof. Every small movement I make is quieter than lighting a signal. Every small movement I make keeps my day normal. I want normal. Normal keeps me alive. But I also know what 3 pulses can mean. It can mean, I see you. It can mean, I'm here. It can mean, come. It can mean, watch out. It can mean, this is a trap, if the person sending it is hoping I respond so he can find my roof. The problem is, all those meanings share the same light. I eat cold food again. I don't risk heating anything. Heat smell carries, and light carries, and I don't want a beacon on my roof. I drink through the new filter cartridge, and the water tastes cleaner, but I still keep it measured. If it rains tomorrow, I might catch enough to refill. If it doesn't, I'm on the clock again. I wedge myself behind the generator box with the desk panel again, but I don't settle in the same way. I keep my notebook open to the map. I trace a route toward the signal roof, not with confidence, but with the cold math of it. If I'm going to check it, I need daylight. If I'm going to check it, I need to carry enough water to get back. If I'm going to check it, I need a plan for what I do if I see a person. If I'm going to check it, I need to know what I do if I see 2 people. Something thumps in the distance. Not close. A heavy sound, then another, then a chain of smaller clatters. It could be a door swinging in wind. It could be a roof hatch slamming. It could be a person pushing a cart. It could be a group down on the street knocking into metal barriers. The city has 1,000 ways to make a sound that means nothing until it means something. I wait it out again. When it settles, I don't sleep. I listen for the next detail. I don't hear it. After a long time, I doze in short stretches, waking up whenever a gust hits the roof edge. I don't track how much sleep I got. I don't do that anymore. Counting it doesn't improve it. At first light, I get up and move fast, but controlled. I pack for a scouting run, not a raid, not an exploration. A scouting run has rules. I write down my start time. I write down my water count. I write down what roof I plan to stop on if I get turned around. If I don't write it, it becomes guesswork when the situation gets loud. Guesswork gets people pinned in stairwells. I take the longer north route because it avoids the rope I saw yesterday. I do not want to cross near someone else's anchor. If a person is using that rope regularly, a person is watching it, at least sometimes. Watching can be passive. Watching can be active. I don't need to know which one it is to respect it. 3 roofs into the route, I find my first new problem. A plank I left in place as a bridge across a narrow gap has been moved. Not far, but far enough that the end no longer sits in the notch I carved for it with my knife. It sits on flat tar now, angled. If I step on it, it can slide. If I step on it wrong, I go down between buildings and I become a noise source that draws attention from every direction. I don't touch the plank. I crouch and examine it from both sides. I look for scuffs that indicate a boot. I look for finger smears. I look for anything that says it wasn't wind. The wind could move a plank if the plank is light and the gust is strong, and the timing is perfect, but the plank is damp and heavy. It would take a lot. I take my extra cord, loop it around a vent pipe, and lower the free end into the gap. I use it as a safety line, crude but better than nothing. Then I reset the plank exactly where I want it, pressing down to seat it. I step onto it slowly, weight testing, then cross. When I'm over, I pull the cord back up and take it with me. I don't leave tools behind when someone else is clearly moving in my space. Half an hour later, I reach a rooftop I used to call a rest roof. Flat, open, with a low brick shed in the center and a clear view northeast. I used it in the early months when I was still learning which roofs gave good sightlines. I haven't been here in a long time. That makes it risky in a different way. Old assumptions rot. The first thing I notice is ash, a thin scatter near the brick shed, swept into a corner by wind. It's not ancient. It's not soaked into the tar. It's light enough that it hasn't been flattened by months of rain. Someone burned something up here recently. Someone cleaned up too. The ash is small and controlled, not a bonfire mess. I don't step into the ash. I circle wide. I look at the roof access door. The door is shut and the padlock is intact. The lock is different from the last one I remember. Brass, newer, not the cheap aluminum lock I saw back in year 1. Somebody replaced it. That changes the roof. It means a person didn't wander here once. A person set up a decision point. Locking a door is a choice you make for the future. I keep my distance and scan the far roofs with my binoculars. The signal roof is visible from here, and I can see the rooftop structures more clearly now. The fire location is tucked behind a roof access hut, and there's a vent stack that blocks the street view. A person designed it so the smoke rises above the skyline, but the flame stays hidden. That is skill. That is also patience. I watch for movement. After several minutes, a shape moves near the hut. A human shape, low, careful, staying behind cover. I can't make out details. I can't tell if it's a man or a woman from here. I can tell the person understands exposure and line of sight. That's enough. The person disappears. No waving, no standing tall, no obvious invite. The smoke doesn't start. The person might have been checking the roof edge. The person might have been checking for me. The person might have been doing the same routine I do, watching streets and counting infected, and wondering if the city has any corners left that aren't occupied by something hungry or desperate. I back away from the edge, sit behind the brick shed, and make myself small. I don't want to be a silhouette. I don't want to be the first one to confirm my exact position. I write down what I saw, then I stop writing and listen to the roof itself. The wind is steady. No footsteps. No voices. No door movement. I don't hear anyone else up here with me. That doesn't mean the roof is empty. It means I haven't triggered anything. I decide to move closer, not to meet, not to speak, but to check the rooftops between. If someone is lighting signals, there may be staging points. There may be cached fuel. There may be markings. There may be traps. If I learn nothing and go home, I still learn how exposed the route is. I cross 2 roofs east and pause at a narrow gap that overlooks a street intersection. Below, A cluster of infected drifts around a bus that has been sitting half on the curb since the first month. The bus doors are open, and the inside is dark. Sometimes they pile into dark spaces when the sun hits hard, and once they do, it becomes a nest that spills out when something draws them. I don't linger here. I cross quickly and keep my feet quiet. On the next roof, I find a mark on the tar near a vent pipe. 3 short lines scratched into the surface, then a longer line below them. Fresh scratches, not weathered. It could be random damage. It could be someone dragging equipment. It could be someone communicating. I take my pencil and sketch it into the notebook. Then I add a note. Possible signal language. Do not respond. I don't like writing that. It feels superstitious, but it's a practical reminder. Responding is how you become part of someone else's plan. The closer I get, the more signs show up. A roof access hatch on one building has been reinforced with a metal bar across it. Somebody drilled it in place. That takes tools. A vent stack has been wrapped in cloth strips, not for warmth, but to stop metal rattle in wind. That is someone who understands noise discipline. Noise discipline is the difference between moving through the city and being the reason the city moves toward you. I learned that early when a small fall in a stairwell turned into a chase I couldn't win. I got out of it by staying high, not by being faster. Ever since then, staying high has been the rule. I stop at the edge of a roof that gives me a clear look at the signal building's side. There's a vertical ladder bolted to the wall, one of those service ladders that run up to a maintenance platform. The ladder is intact. The platform is intact. But there's something new. A rope tied to the platform railing, hanging down in a clean line. It moves slightly in the breeze. A controlled line, not abandoned. I don't approach the rope. I study it. The knot looks different from mine. The rope itself looks newer than what I've scavenged. Somebody had a source for rope, or somebody found a stash. Either way, this person has equipment I don't. That doesn't make the person a threat. It makes the person capable. Capability becomes threat when goals collide. I don't know this person's goals. I pull back to cover and sit with my back against a low wall. I drink 2 small pulls from my bottle and stop. I check my water level. Enough to get home with margin if I don't get turned around. I check my hands for cuts. None. I check my sleeves for tears. None. I keep doing that because blood exposure isn't a theory in my world. If infected fluids get into an open cut, the clock starts and it doesn't stop. I've seen people go from talking to violent in under half an hour. I've seen people drop and come back on the floor before anyone finished arguing about what to do. I don't gamble with that. The smoke starts again, thinner than yesterday, and it rises from behind the roof access hut. I watch it. I watch the streets below too, because smoke changes behavior. It takes a while, but infected drift toward it in loose lines. Some bump into cars, some get stuck on barriers, but enough of them start trending in one direction that the intersection pattern shifts. It's slow, and it's steady. That's the first moment the signal feels dangerous in a new way. I didn't think about the infected response yesterday beyond, don't do that. Now I see how someone could use smoke to steer foot traffic, to pull a cluster away from a route, or to pull a cluster toward a route. Smoke is a lever. A person on a roof can move bodies on the street without touching them. If the person lighting these fires knows that, then the person might be shaping the city around a plan. Or the person might be trying to clear a path for himself. Or she might be trying to draw someone out. Any of those fits. I don't get to pick which one I prefer. I only get to pick what I do next. I backtrack along my route without rushing. I don't want to run. Running on tar roofs makes noise, and the sound of hurried shoes echoes in ways that carry. I move with the same slow control as the morning. I stop at the scratch mark roof and look for any change. None. I stop at the ash roof and keep wide. The padlock is still there. Halfway home, I find the first clear proof that I'm not the only one thinking about me. On a low rooftop ledge near a vent, a strip of cloth has been tied in a neat loop. White cloth, clean enough to stand out, tied in a way that is meant to be seen from a distance. It's not waving wildly. It's tight, fixed, a marker. I don't touch it. I look around, then I crouch and study the knot. The knot is simple. It's the kind of knot someone ties when he wants anyone to understand it without effort. I could interpret it 100 ways. I refuse to. Interpretation is where people convince themselves to walk into a bad situation. I get back to my home roof with a slow, careful crossing over the plank bridge. I check my rope scratch at the knot again. Still there. I step onto my roof and stop. The shifted metal sheet I reset yesterday has moved again. Same direction, same few inches. This time, the dust streak is clearer. Someone is testing it. Someone is making sure it moves quietly. I don't go straight into my hiding spot. I take the long loop around, scanning the roof surface, checking every place a person could crouch. I check the vent housing. I check behind the tarp. I check the access door. I don't find a person. I don't find a note. I find absence. An absence means someone can be close and still be invisible. I shift my entire routine that afternoon. I move my food cache from under the vent housing to a spot inside the neighboring rooftop shack. I move the notebook too. I stop leaving my pencil under my bedding. I start carrying it on a cord around my neck so I don't drop it in a gap if I have to move fast. I move my sleeping pad again, deeper into the generator nook, and I wedge the desk panel so it makes less noise when I slide it. I also change how I cover my tracks. I sprinkle a thin line of dust from a bag I carry. Dust I sweep up from stairwells and keep in a pouch. I lay it near the roof access door and near the edge where someone might crawl up. It's crude, but it gives me information. If someone passes through, the dust will show it. If wind blows it away, that tells me something too. Either way, I'm no longer blind. That night the light pulses again from the northeast. 3 times, same rhythm, same short intervals. I watch it from behind my low wall without showing my full silhouette. I don't answer. I don't raise a mirror. I don't flash a lantern. I don't even lift my radio. I sit there with my hands occupied, tightening knots, checking straps, doing small maintenance work so my mind doesn't start narrating stories at me. Below on the street, the infected drift in 2s and 3s toward where smoke had been earlier. They don't rush. They don't coordinate. They move the way they always move until something sharp pulls them. A loud clang in the distance makes several of them turn at once and start walking with more energy, bumping into a parked truck and scraping along its side. The sound carries up, thin but clear. Someone down there is moving metal around. A person, not wind. I don't go look. I don't lean out and stare. I keep my body low and I keep my roof dark. I learned the hard way that other survivors notice attention. People feel watched even when they can't name why. If someone is lighting signals, that person is watching for responses. A response doesn't have to be a light. It can be a head above a wall at the wrong moment. I check my dust line near the roof access door before I bed down. There's a disruption. A clean sweep across it, as if someone brushed a foot through and then tried to smooth it back. The dust is disturbed in a way wind doesn't do. Wind scatters. This is dragged. Someone was at my door. The door is still locked. The chain is still set. Someone didn't enter. Someone checked. That changes the night. I don't sleep behind the generator box. I take my pack and move to the neighboring rooftop shack, crossing the plank bridge in the dark with my knees bent and my hands on the rope line. It's slower and more dangerous than daytime, but staying on a roof that someone just inspected feels worse. I lock myself into the shack from the inside and wedge a chair under the handle. I sit on the floor with my back against the wall and keep my gear in my lap. I don't hear anyone enter my home roof after that. I don't hear footsteps. I don't hear a rope squeal. I don't hear the door chain rattle. Silence doesn't comfort me. Silence means a careful person is operating, and careful people are harder than loud ones. Loud ones draw infected and burn out fast. Careful ones last. By morning, I have a new problem on top of the old ones. My water is clean again with the new cartridge, but the barrel is still low. My food is thinning, and my safest scavenging roofs have been picked over for months. I can stay paranoid and avoid contact, but avoidance forces me into riskier supply runs sooner. I can move farther for food and water, but farther routes mean more exposure and more points where someone can watch and learn my pattern. I leave the shack at first light and cross back to my home roof to check the dust line again. The dust has been disturbed a second time, wider than before. Someone stood there longer, close enough to work at the lock. The lock isn't damaged. The chain is still set. Whoever it was didn't force it. That means the person either didn't want noise, or didn't need entry, or was sending a message without leaving a note. I turn my head and look northeast. No smoke yet. No light. The skyline looks the same as yesterday, which is how it always tricks you. A calm skyline makes you forget there are people up there making choices. I don't sit down. I don't settle into routine. I pack for another scouting run, this time with a different goal. I want to find where the person who checked my door came from. I want to locate a route that intersects mine. Not to confront, not to talk, to understand. Understanding is the only thing that gives me options that aren't panic. I take a route west first, then north, cutting around the roofs that are too exposed. I keep my eyes on anchor points and edges, on any place a rope could be tied. Twice I see fresh cloth strips wrapped around vent stacks to quiet them. 3 times I see rope scuffs on metal rails. Someone has been moving along the same band of roofs I use, and that band is narrowing. On a mid-rise with a broken billboard frame, I find the first direct sign aimed at me. A piece of cardboard is wedged under a brick, protected from wind. It has thick marker lines on it. 3 lines, then a long line under. The same scratch pattern I saw earlier, but clearer, intentional. Next to it is a simple arrow pointing northeast. I stare at it without touching it. I look around again. I check windows. I check roof edges. I check the billboard frame in case someone is perched behind it. I don't see anyone. I don't hear anyone. Whoever placed the cardboard did it at a time when this roof was empty, or did it fast and left. I leave the cardboard where it is. I do not pick it up. Taking it would mean admitting I'm collecting someone else's signals. Leaving it means the person might check later and see it still there, and that might make the person think I'm ignoring it. That's fine. Ignored is safer than engaged. When I return to my home roof in late afternoon, the smoke rises again from the northeast. Same roof, same controlled burn. This time the smoke is heavier, and it goes longer. I watch the streets below shift again, infected slowly drifting toward it, pulling away from certain blocks. The movement creates a thinner band of streets south of the signal, a corridor that looks easier to cross if a person needed to go down to street level. I don't assume that's for me. I don't assume it's not. I write it down. I mark the corridor on my map. I also mark a second thing that worries me more. On a rooftop 2 buildings away from me, a small flash of light appears and disappears. Not 3 pulses, not patterned. A quick glint, a mirror maybe, a lens. Someone is close enough to reflect sunlight. Someone is close enough to check rooftops for watchers. I lower my head behind the wall and stay down. I don't move for a long time. I let the city keep doing what it does without giving away where I am. When I finally lift the binoculars again from a different corner, the glint is gone. I don't know if that means the person moved off, or if the person is watching the spot where my head was a minute ago. I spend the evening preparing to leave my home roof for a longer stretch. Not permanently, but long enough to break the pattern. I choose 3 alternate sleeping roofs and I stage small caches on each one. 1 can of food, a bottle of filtered water, a spare cord, a strip of cloth for bandaging. None of it is a fortune. It's enough to keep me from being forced back here if someone decides this roof is now part of his plan. After dark, the northeast light pulses again, 3 times. Then a pause. Then 1 long pulse. The pattern matches the scratches. 3 short, 1 long. It's consistent now. It's a language. I don't know what it says, but the person has committed to repeating it until I respond or disappear. I don't respond. I move. I take my pack and cross to the west roof, then another, ending the night on a shorter building with a cramped stairwell hut and a view that doesn't include my home roof. I wedge myself inside the hut and close the door with cloth padding so it doesn't click. I sit with my back against the wall, notebook on my lap, pencil in hand, and I draw the growing net of signs around my roots. Rope scuffs, cloth ties, ash, cardboard arrows, dust disturbances, light pulses. In the middle of drawing, I stop and set the pencil down. The problem isn't that someone is out there. The problem is that someone out there is organized, patient, and comfortable moving through my world. That person isn't wandering. That person isn't stuck. That person is building something. Even if it's small, even if it's only a plan in one head, a plan changes the environment. I don't sleep much. I don't count it. I keep my eyes open more than I should because my mind keeps replaying the disturbed dust line at my roof access door. The person didn't break in. The person didn't leave a note. The person wanted me to notice. At first light, I make the choice I've been avoiding. I'm going to get eyes on the signal roof from closer than binocular distance, and I'm going to do it in a way that doesn't lead a person back to my home roof. I don't make it dramatic. I don't promise myself anything. I pack supplies for one day, and I leave behind anything I can't carry fast. I move northeast along a route that keeps me above the busiest streets. I avoid roofs with fresh ash and avoid rope anchors I don't recognize. Twice I have to stop and rebuild a crossing because a plank has shifted or a ladder has loosened. Each repair costs time. Each repair makes noise. Each repair risks drawing eyes from below and from above. I keep repairs minimal and functional, then move on. Near the edge of the signal building, I reach a roof with a clear sightline to the roof access hut across the gap. The gap is too wide to jump and too exposed to cross with a plank without being seen. The only safe way across would be with a rope line anchored low, something that lets a person traverse quickly and pull the line afterward. Whoever lives on the signal building has that advantage. I don't. I watch the roof for a long time. No smoke, no figure. Then a hatch opens a crack. A person's hand appears, holds the hatch for a second, then closes it again. No full body, no head. The hand movement is controlled and quick. The person is checking the roof without offering a target. I back away. I don't need more proof. I already have enough. Someone is inside that building, using that roof as a tool. The person is aware of risk, aware of watchers, and aware of time. On my way back, I make a mistake. It's small at first, a boot edge scraping a loose vent cap as I step over it. The cap clatters twice before it settles. The sound is sharp and clean in the morning air. I freeze, then I move without rushing, getting off that roof and onto the next, putting structure between me and the sound source. Within minutes, I hear movement below. Not human. A loose, uneven shuffle that grows as more bodies join. The clatter I made was enough to pull infected from the street into the building's shadow line. They won't climb. They'll fill the stairwell if a door is open. They'll cluster under the roof edge until something else pulls them away. That means I can't go down into that building later for supplies. That building is now a trap that I created with one careless step. I keep moving, and I do it with a new kind of anger aimed at myself. I don't dwell on it. Dwelling slows movement. I adjust the route in my notebook and I mark that roof as noise incident. I won't use it again unless I'm forced. When I finally reach one of my alternate sleeping roofs, I stop and sit behind a low wall to drink water and check my hands again. The city has shifted one more notch. The signals are repeating. The infected are being nudged around. My own errors are adding weight to the problem. If I stay isolated, I stay alive. But I also stay blind. And blind means eventually I step wrong on a plank I assumed was seated. Or I open a door I assumed was empty. Or I drink water I assumed was safe. I keep my head down and watch the skyline. No smoke right now. No light. I don't relax. I plan the next move. I don't plan for a conversation. I plan for contact at distance. A note, a dropped supply, a visible marker that can be read without proximity. Something that gives me information without giving away my roof. I take the pencil and tear a strip from a clean page in my notebook. One page I can spare. I write a single line in block letters, keeping it short so it can be read from binocular distance if someone picks it up and holds it. I don't write a name. I don't write a story. I don't write anything that reveals where I sleep. I write a question that forces clarity if the person wants a response. Then, I fold the paper tight, weigh it under a small rock, and decide where to place it tomorrow, on a roof that sits between my world and the signal world. A roof that I can watch from distance afterward. I don't feel good about any of it. I don't feel brave. I feel trapped between two risks that both grow over time. I stay behind the wall until the sun shifts. Then I move again, checking my roots, checking my anchors, and making sure I have a way back that doesn't depend on one plank that can slide. And that's where we'll stop for now. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and tell me how the story hit you, what moments worked, what didn't, and what you'd want to hear next. And a big thank you to everyone supporting the channel. You keep this project alive. Until next time, Survivor, Jack's Nightmares, signing off.